Hey everyone. In this video, we are going to discuss about data types in Python. So we have various type of data types such as numeric, sequence type, boolean, set and dictionary present in Python. So what is data type? When you want to store someone's name, like if I want to store code snip in a variable in a programming language such as Python, I will use a data type which is known as string. And if I want to store a integer value, I will use int as a data type. And if I want a float value which has a decimal in it, I will use float as a data type. So basically for every value we are storing in our project or in our file, we have different kind of data type Python gives us. So there is a note that we don't have to allocate data types to our variable explicitly, because Python automatically allocate the data type to each value or each variable we are storing in our Python file. That's why Python is a dynamically typed language. Later on, we have a question here, like what is variable. So the variable is the name of a memory location where we can store different type of values, such as if you want, for example, if you want to store someone's name in your file and you want to call it later, how will you call it? So for that, for every value, we assign that value to a particular variable so that we can use that variable later in our file. So variables are mainly used as a label to store data in a memory, and we can access that variable in throughout our files. Now, if I talk about data types in Python, so there are mainly five types of data type in Python. First is numeric, then we have dictionary, then we have boolean, then we have set, and then we have sequence type. So in this video, we are covering our first type of data type, which is numeric type. So in numeric data type, we have three types of data type. First is integer, then we have float, and then we have complex number. So what are integers? So integer basically represented by int class, and it contain positive and negative whole numbers. Okay, like we can store numbers in integers, those number which are without any fraction or without any decimal. If we want to store something with decimal, we will use float. Okay, so there is no limit to how long an integer value can be. Then I will move forward to float. In float, we generally store the values which have decimal in it. And later on, we have complex number. In complex number, we have real part and imaginary part. For example, 2 plus 3j. So later on, we have a function also here, which function we call it type function in Python. This function we mainly use to see which type of variable we are going to use. I will just come to the coding part and show you how these things works. Okay, so in the last video we have done logical operators, and one more thing left in our last video, that is assignment operator. So basically, what is assignment operator? If I am taking a variable of a and assigning it a value of 12, so this equal sign is known as assignment operator. When we assign any value to any variable, that equal sign will be known as assignment operator. Now moving on to our main part, data type. So firstly we will discuss about what is integer types. Okay, integer. So if I create a variable called a and I store 14 into it. Okay, and now let's we call our type function so that it can tell us what type of this variable is. So you just have to write print, and inside print you have to write type, and we will pass our argument as a. Now run this file. So it is telling that a variable is type of int. Okay, so now, as I already told you in our definition, that integers are the values which are without any fraction and without any decimal. Okay, So that's how integer works, and that's how our type work. Now move on to float values. Okay, float value. Now if I create a variable known as b, and I will just store some value in it like 1.3. Okay, so we have a decimal in this value. Then we'll check a type. Then we'll check a type here, and you can see our type changes to float because we have a decimal in our number. Okay, so those number which contain decimal, they comes inside float type. Now let's come to imaginary number. Okay, or I can say complex type. So just let me complex. Okay, so now I'll create a new variable called c, and I'll give it a value of something 3 plus 4j. Okay, 3 plus 4j. So this is our complex number. Now what I'll do is I will pass a print command and go for type of c. Okay, now as you can see, it is giving us a class of complex. So that's how our type function work. What type function will do is it will just check what type of variable we are using. For suppose if I am passing a variable inside our type function, it is giving us a integer class because this 14 is belong to a integer class. And if I'm checking the type of b, it is giving us a float type because all the values which contain decimal inside it all are belong to float. And at last we have a complex type. In complex type we have one real number and other is imaginary number. So all these numbers come into complex class. That's why when I passed c inside type, it gives me complex class. So that's all for this video. In the next video we are going to discuss about lists, dictionaries and tuples. Thank you.